Hey, solos. So you're going to Walt Disney World all by yourself, and you really, really want to meet the main man, Mickey Mouse himself. Where could you meet him? What is the best location to meet him for a solo? Is there a way to meet him in like his just like normal traditional outfit? Or is there a place that you could meet him in like a fancy outfit? Is there a place that you can go without a big line? Solo spoiler. There's actually a lot of places to meet Mickey Mouse on the Walt Disney World property. He's a very busy guy. He just literally bounces around from one place to another. And there are some places that might be better for you to meet him during your solo trip. And we're going to talk about it. Hi, everyone. It's Samantha. Olaf may not know who Samantha is, but now you do. And welcome to Disney Solo Magic, the #1 podcast for solo travel to Disney World, moving into its third year in April. How exciting. In this episode, I want to talk about all the different places that you can meet Mickey Mouse and like tell you a little bit about, I don't know, maybe like the pros and the cons, that not quite as formal as that, of meeting him and Minnie Mouse in those places as well, because maybe that will help in your own planning of where you might want to meet the main man himself, which is pretty exciting. Okay, so you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Threads, and things are updated now, which is very, very exciting for me. You can listen to this on Apple, Spotify, and on YouTube. But if you've been a long-time listener, you know that there's a weird problem with posting on YouTube. So it doesn't get posted on Thursday. Well, it does get posted on Thursday the way the podcast does on Apple and Spotify. I just have to like go back and anyway, whatever. You might not be able to listen to it until the weekend or even early the next week because of something that YouTube is doing that I cannot figure out. And if you know YouTube and RSS feeds, then please help me out. That'd be super awesome. Please make sure that you rate, review, and subscribe on all of those different platforms. A comment is really great, all of that stuff. And because we are going to be celebrating our 3rd anniversary coming up, there's going to be some like changes. So one of the things that I really wanted to do is like I want to ask you questions on the podcast, and it's hard to like know where to get answers or like where you can respond because not everyone is on Instagram, not everyone is on Facebook, on YouTube. Again, I just can't trust it as a platform. Spotify also has a place that you can leave comments, but not everyone is listening on Spotify. And so coming up in April, there is going to be a way that you can comment on all the different episodes on Patreon as a free member. And so I think that'd be a really good way to get some feedback about other things that maybe I've missed in a particular episode. And I'm really looking forward to having a little bit more of that conversation. Speaking of Patreon, you can become a free member, but you can also become a paid member, and it's really inexpensive. It's like $4 American, $5 or $5.50 Canadian, and it's a really great way to support the podcast, to support me. And I've been saying now for like the last month or so that it was such a nice surprise when I went to Disney Solo in January for one night to realize that like basically Patreon kind of funded all the different foods that I got to try at the festival. And I thought that was pretty cool as a way to come full circle. And it was really nice to like review foods and all that stuff. So also coming up for my upcoming solo trip in April. Did I say my solo trip in January? So my upcoming solo trip in April, for paid members, again, they can vote on the foods that they want me to try at the festival. And if you become a paid member, you can also get that as well. And it's also a 1-week free trial if you're interested. All right, let's get into it. All right. So about a year ago, I had to get an MRI. And I'm very claustrophobic. And the guy was like putting me in the machine. I was like, oh, no. And he's like, yeah, lady, like, yes, you need to go in this machine. So he like gave me a blindfold. And I had to like, oh my God, it was super, super stressful. Actually, my whole body is really stressed out now just thinking about it. And so while I was in this machine, basically a hot dog and a corn dog, I started thinking of Epcot, and I tried to I tried to remember where all the countries were in order and then like do a little walking tour. And I just kept doing that in my brain during this MRI. It was terrible. But actually, it was a really good distraction for me. I really enjoyed that as like a distraction technique in this really stressful situation. So I was on a plane unrelated to Disney a couple weeks ago, and we were going through some weather. And I started again, like I did the Epcot thing, and I was like, no, I want to do Epcot. And I started thinking about all the places you can meet Mickey Mouse at Walt Disney World. And I thought, oh, that's a good episode. So that's what this episode is going to be, all the places to meet Mickey Mouse. But I say that because I'm challenging myself to do it by memory, and I'm really, really into that. So I'm excited to also like share with you all the different ways to meet or places to meet Mickey Mouse on the Walt Disney World Resort property, and to do it by memory because that felt like a really good challenge. Sorry to start with a trauma story. I'm apologizing to myself. My body is like feeling it now. So, like I said, Mickey is a busy guy, and there are a lot of different places that you can meet him. I don't know how he gets around all of those places like Santa Claus, but you can meet him at all 4 parks, but you don't always have to go to the parks to meet him. And I think that is good to know about the couple different options that you have if you want to meet Mickey Mouse. Now, I know that some solos, I totally get why they wouldn't want to do a meet and greet. But I've done episodes about character dining and meeting characters, and during the solo stories as well, we talk about the fact that like, yes, I can see why it would be awkward, but actually it's really fun and wonderful. And for some people, very like therapeutic. And it's like, oh my God, I just like needed this mouse hug. And I also met this woman who was friends with Mickey Mouse. And if you know what that means. And I met her actually at the local place where I get my nails done. And I said to her, like, is it weird when adults come by themselves, or just like generally? Is it weird when adults come and they interact with you? Because that is something that I'm like aware of, right? And she's like, no, not at all. In fact, in some ways, and this is what she was saying, in some ways it is kind of better than the kids because the adults understand that this is a character that they are interacting with, but that character isn't, and the character is real, but like the character isn't real. You know what I mean? And so she's like, it's sometimes easier to play around, and it's also easier for us both to be in this place of like suspended disbelief or suspended belief. Like we understand what we're doing here, and like, let's do it. You know what I mean? Whereas sometimes kids are reticent or weird, or like weird because there's a giant mouse in front of you, you know? Or scared or shy or whiny or all these different things, and you need to like coax them out. Whereas when it's an adult, it's like, oh no, you're here for hugs, you're here to show me something, you're here to tell me a story. Okay, great, let's do it. And then she like told me these stories of like interacting not with solo adults, but with adults who may have been reticent to interact with Mickey Mouse because the rest of the family was there. And she was telling me how Mickey, I guess, was able to pull them out of the shell and like their shell, and like how much she realized that adults needed this too. And I just thought that was just so cool and so beautiful. So yeah, I mean, I get why. And even still, like, I'm like, I don't know, need to meet Mickey Mouse again. But I have this picture on my bulletin board, and it's a picture of me. It's a selfie of me and Mickey Mouse. And I just look so joyful. And it's like, it's nice to go back and be like, oh, right. Like the joy I felt in that moment, you can still see it. So even if you're worried, I really want to encourage you not to be. And there are options then to meet Mickey Mouse in a way that might make you feel more comfortable. And so that is something that I'll talk about in this episode. And I'm going to focus on Mickey Mouse, but other than one exception, I could think of off the top of my head. When I'm saying meet Mickey Mouse, you can also meet Minnie Mouse, Donald Duck, and Daisy at these same places. The the first exception is the very first one I'm going to talk about, but I'm talking about Mickey Mouse quite kind of like broadly in terms of like the Fab Four characters. Okay, so you can meet Mickey Mouse at all 4 of the theme parks, at Magic Kingdom, at Epcot, at Hollywood Studios, and at Animal Kingdom. At Magic Kingdom, you can meet Mickey Mouse right at the front of the park. So the front of the park is Main Street USA, and if when you walk in, you look to the right, you will see the theater. You'll see Tony's Town Square restaurant, and you'll also see a theater. Inside that theater, Magician Mickey is meeting with guests. And so here is where you can meet Mickey Mouse, and he is dressed up in a like a magician's outfit, and the set that you are meeting him at is like backstage of his magic show. And it's really cool because there's backstage props, so a trunk with costumes and all this stuff, and you can often like engage him in like pointing out and talking about some of the things that you can see and that are hidden, and it's always a really, really fun time. I think I meet Mickey the most in this location, and I don't like love that he's always in his magician's outfit. It'd be nice to have more like classic pictures, but I've always had really, really great interactions here. And the cast members that are the blueberries, that they are the attendants to the characters, also really have always been really, really wonderful. I think the reason why I see Mickey the most here is because the wait times can be quite low. Sometimes it can be very high, but sometimes it can be quite low. So right at the front of the theater, it will say what the wait time is. But you can also pop your head in and take a look at what the line is on the inside. So there is a line inside, and there is a very small line behind a door. So if you see a lot of people in the line in the like quote unquote lobby of the theater, then the line for Mickey Mouse is really long. But sometimes I look in and I just see like 5 people, 10 people, and I'll say to the character attendant or like the people that are managing the line, like, is this the line? Like, is it really 10, 20 minutes? And they're like, oh yeah, no problem. Just like go right in. So I think that's why I go see Mickey the most here, because it's easy just like to pop in and see how realistic the line is. Also, here's a little spoiler if you have children that don't want to ruin some of the magic, then skip ahead really quickly. But spoiler, there's actually 2 Mickey Mouses, 2 backstages. So even though you might see, like 10 people on the outside, what the character attendants and the cast members do is they will filter that line. They'll split it in 2. So when you're going to meet Mickey Mouse in that location, you're basically like cut in your mind, you can cut that amount of people in half. So, that's kind of funny because he's a magician and like cutting someone in half. Anyway, so just so you know, that's one of the reasons why they're able to move people through. Now, I said at the beginning that by and large, every time I say you can meet Mickey Mouse, you can also meet the other characters there, but that's not true here. So you can only meet Mickey Mouse here. Sometimes they have other characters. It's in a totally different line, so I'm not going to talk about that. You can only meet Minnie Mouse, Donald Duck, and Daisy at the back of the park in Storybook Circus in the like big top tent, and they are in their like circus outfits, and they're I always feel like I've never met the characters there because I've always felt the line is really long, and it is one like big quote unquote circus tent, and you wait in line and then you go and you can see all 3 of the characters. So the line is longer, but you're getting kind of more from the interaction because you get to see the 3 characters. But if you want to meet Mickey Mouse, you would meet him right at the front of the park. And what's great too is at the front of the park, when you're coming into the park, you can check what the wait time is. When you're leaving the park, you can check what the wait time is. So kind of win-win. At Epcot, you can meet Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse and Goofy. I can't remember if the ducks are there too, but you can meet them right in Communicore Hall. So Communicore Hall is the new building, and there is an outdoor queue with terrible lighting. I mean, I just Oh my God. Okay. I have a lot to say about Communicore Hall and everything they built and how long it took, but I'm not going to say any of it now. But I'm grumpy about it. Anyway, it's an outdoor line, and you can often like tell, how long it's going to be because of that. Also, spoiler, there's 2 rooms in there, and that is where you can meet, like I said, Mickey, Minnie, and Goofy, I believe. And they are in their very traditional outfits. This is the only place that you can see Mickey in like his classic tails. And so it's a nice meet and greet, but considering it's a new building, I kind of expected more. But also there's this beautiful mural behind them. And again, the lighting inside is also terrible. Anyway, whatever. There's a beautiful mural behind them, and you can often engage them in conversation about the mural and the hidden Mickeys in the mural and all that stuff. Okay, at Hollywood Studios, you can meet Mickey and Minnie together if you were going like on your way to what was Muppets Land, and they are in their like Hollywood glamour outfit. So like Minnie's in a ball gown, she's wearing like long gloves. The line is outside for the most part, but it's covered. The thing I don't like about this line is that you can't see it until you get into the line. And so I've often gone into the line and then I just think, oh no, it feels a little long once I'm here. And so I've never met them there either, which is kind of weird. Actually, the next place I'm going to talk about, I also haven't met them there. And but anyway, that's where you can see them in their Hollywood glamour outfit. And if you want to meet Donald and Daisy, they actually do like outside meet and greets, and they're just in their classic outfits. And you can also see Chip and Dale outside of Brown Derby. They do like a little pantomime yoga stuff outside on the green. But Mickey and Minnie, you can see them in their Hollywood glamour outfits in an organized area just before or just after the ABC commentary and right before you get to what was Muppets Land and Star Wars Land, whatever that's called. Galaxy's Edge? Yes, I think that's it. Okay, then you can also meet Mickey and Minnie at Animal Kingdom. And in Animal Kingdom, they are wearing little safari outfits. They actually used to have this whole island that was just meet and greets, and then they built Pandora. So there is another little place that they have like tucked around a corner, and they're wearing their safari outfits, and it's really cool. I haven't met them there because, again, I can't like see the line from the like road, and I don't want to stand in a line for an hour, even though I would just like love to meet them. So that's where you can meet all the characters at all the parks, except at Epcot, Hollywood Studios, and Animal Kingdom. You can meet Mickey and Minnie in another place, and that is through character dining. So not only can you meet Mickey and friends in their special meet and greet locations, Epcot, Hollywood Studios, and Animal Kingdom also have a character dining experience that features Mickey and Minnie. Not Magic Kingdom, which I guess is not super surprising. I think it would just be so busy. They're like, it's fine. Don't worry. They can find the characters elsewhere. But at the other three parks, you can see them. And for me, that's often where I like to see them even more. So at Epcot, in the Land Pavilion, there is a rotating restaurant called the Garden Grill, and it's rotating because you can see down to Living with the Land, and Mickey and friends are there in little farmers' outfits. And to be honest, I've never been there because there's such good food at Epcot that I can't imagine just like sitting inside and eating like American food when there's so many interesting other cultures and cuisines and tiny bites and walking around that you can get at World Showcase. But it's really funny because my cousin, a cousin who I'm quite close with, but we're about 10, 12 years apart, he was like, yeah, well, I remember going to Disney when I was a kid. And, I ate in that restaurant where Mickey was there, his overalls, and the restaurant was moving. And I was like, that does not exist, sir. And he was like, all right, it absolutely does. And you need to do better research. And then the next time I was at Disney, I was like, oh, you met the Garden Grill. And he's like, I don't know what it was called. I just knew I was right. So I always think of him there. The thing about this restaurant, the other reason why I haven't gone is because it is family style, which means it's like a whole big thing of food right on the table, and you are welcome to get and eat as much as you want, but it just feels very wasteful for one. Yeah, that's another reason why it hasn't been on my list. You can also see Chip and Dale, though, at that restaurant, which is pretty cool. Going over to Hollywood Studios, you can also meet Mickey and Minnie at Hollywood and Dine. So that is a buffet restaurant, and it is a character dining meal. In the morning, it's not Mickey and Friends. It's some sort of like Disney Junior Doc McStuffins characters, but in the afternoon and in the evening, lunch and dinner, it is it's actually like Minnie's Hollywood and Dine. Like, she's the host, which is really great, but you can also meet Mickey there. And I've been here a couple times, and I should say I've been super surprised with how good the food was, and I really kind of enjoyed the atmosphere. And what is really, really cool about this restaurant is that the characters change their outfits 4 times a year for the different seasons. So at the beginning of the year, a cast member told me that they wear their Hollywood glamour outfits like they're going to the Oscars, and he's like, I really love that time of year. You should come back because I'm really into movies. And I just thought it was like the cutest thing ever. In the spring, they have an outfit. In the summer, they have an outfit. And I actually bought a dress that matches Minnie's dress that she wears during the summer. And I wore it to the restaurant, but I was there for my birthday, which is at the end of August, and they already celebrating Halloween at that time. So she didn't get my dress reference, which is fine. She's a busy gal. But then they do have Halloween costumes, which are really, really cool. And they have really nice Christmas costumes as well. And what's nice about the character dining experiences is that you do have more one-on-one time with the characters. And so you can talk with them about their outfits. Like, it gives you something as like a conversation point. And I always think that's really cool. So I haven't seen Mickey and Minnie in their like meet and greet location because I've met and because I've done meet and greets with them while I'm also having lunch or dinner at Hollywood and Dine, and it's become one of my favorite restaurants, actually. I was really impressed with how like surprisingly good the food was. So yeah, go check that out. The other place that I get to see Mickey and Minnie a lot is at Animal Kingdom, and that is in their character dining at Tusker House. That is also a buffet, and Mickey and Minnie are coming around with and Donald and Daisy are coming around in their safari outfits. I think they're slightly different safari outfits. I was there at Christmas time, and they had like Christmas accoutrement on their safari outfits, which was pretty cool. And I really enjoyed that too. I also like the more quote unquote exotic food that you can get at Tusker House. Like, there's some things that you wouldn't see in other, at Garden Grill, for example. And again, if Garden Grill is like your favorite restaurant, that's great. You do you, bibbidi bobbidi boo. It is like a flavor and taste preference, right? So whatever works for you works for you. But I really like character dining for being a solo, because you you can be like, oh, I'm just here to eat. Oh, also, hey, Mickey. You know what I mean? The downside, though, is that it is harder to get full length pictures. Like, you can get selfies, no problem, but you often will have to like ask a cast member to take a full picture of you, and cast members will say yes very quickly to any of those picture requests. But I do recognize that it seems like it's a little bit, you're asking someone to do a little bit more work, and you might not love that. Don't prevent yourself from doing it. I just want to acknowledge that you might feel, as the kids say, some sort of way about it. Actually, do kids say that anymore? No, I guess like as 20-year-olds said it when they were kids, felt some sort of way about it. So in sum, you can meet Mickey at all 4 parks, but at 3 of the parks, Epcot, Hollywood Studios, and Animal Kingdom, you can meet him in another location, and that is through character dining. Now, again, I think the reason why they don't have character dining at Magic Kingdom for Mickey and Friends is because they're like, we don't need any more people here. But another reason why is because not that far away, you can do character dining with Mickey and Friends, and that is at the Contemporary Resort, which is a short walk away from Magic Kingdom. You can also take the monorail, and at the Contempo Cafe, they have a character dining experience for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and Mickey and Friends are wearing their chef outfits, which is pretty cute. I have never eaten here. I've heard kind of like mixed reviews about the food, and I also hear that it's quite hectic. There's a lot of kids and the acoustics and all that stuff, but that is kind of a classic place to do a character dining and meet Mickey and Friends. Oh, not at Contempo Cafe. Contempo Cafe is right in front. It's at Chef Mickey's. And I mean, if you go into Contemporary, Contemporary is so open on that floor, so it's not hard to find or to get somebody to point you in the right direction. But that's not the only resort that you can meet Mickey and Friends. And I think that's important to remember, that you can meet Mickey Mouse and you don't actually need to be a park guest. You can go and have a meal at one of these restaurants in the resort. And actually, you don't even need to be staying on Walt Disney property. Like, let's say you're there for a conference or something and you have a breakfast free, you have a morning free or whatever. You can be like, oh, I'm going to make a dining reservation and go and have breakfast with Mickey and Friends. And you can do that at a couple of the other resorts. So one that's really popular is Topolino's Terrace. That is at the Riviera Resort. It is a DVC Deluxe resort, and it's kind of new. It feels quite small, but it's also attached to the Caribbean Beach Resort, and they have a character dining breakfast with Mickey and Friends, and they're wearing, because again, Riviera Resort is French Riviera, European Riviera themed. So Mickey and Friends are wearing all artist outfits. So like Mickey is a sculptor or a painter, I think. And then Minnie is a writer and Daisy is a ballerina. And it's a beautiful location. It's really fun to see the characters in those costumes. It has gotten increasingly busy. A lot of families like to go and see it, but it is also just a really nice elevated space if you are solo and you want to meet the characters. And it's also very good food. It's a prix fixe. One of the popular things on the menu is steak and eggs. Personally, I found it quite salty, but every time I've said that to a cast member, they've gone and got me a different dish because Disney cast members are amazing. And on top of that, you get to meet Mickey and Friends, which is amazing. Another place, though, that you can go and have breakfast is at the Cape May Cafe, and that is in the Beach Club Resort, which is attached to the Yacht Club Resort, and that is 19th century seaside, and so they're wearing seaside summer outfits, and again, it's Mickey and Friends. That is a buffet, and in the evening is also a buffet, more seafood themed, no characters. Also, Topolino's Terrace, there are no characters for dinner, but Cape May Cafe in the morning, breakfast, and I've really enjoyed having breakfast here with the characters. It is a little less busy, I have found, than Topolino's Terrace, and I have found that the characters, I've just had really good interactions and long interactions, like whole conversations with these characters, and it's been really, really fun actually to kind of explore the characters in these dining locations because they literally draw you up and out and they encourage you. I know, again, a lot of people think it's might be intimidated to meet characters, especially when they don't talk, but and I have seen some content creators give you tips on how to prepare, come up with questions beforehand and things like that. But in my experience, the characters, it's their job to make you have a good time. So they will go and they will point something out and they'll compliment something, or they'll point at your food and they'll be mime, oh, is it yummy? And then you can, again, I really like clothes and fashion and details and historical details and things like that. So I'll point something out on their dress or whatever and ask them about it. And they answer as much as they can. And it really does feel like a conversation, despite the fact that the words are only one-sided. And when you are doing the regular meet and greets, the character attendants are right there that can help do some quote-unquote translation. During the character dining, the character attendants are just kind of watching from afar, so they don't have that translation, but maybe that's why it feels like they're a little bit more active. Like, so don't worry about it. Just go have a good time. If you want them to sign something, that's great. But also, oh my God, it's good I remember this, Samantha. At the character dining experiences, restaurants, they will also give you a postcard, a themed postcard with the character signatures on them. So that does like give you a souvenir, which is kind of cool. And I'm trying to figure out what to do with all that I've collected. So if you have any suggestions, just let me know. But yeah, it's really nice. So for me, I would say do character dining versus like waiting in line personally, but it's really up to you. You do you, bibbidi bobbidi boo, like whatever you think would be more comfortable, but definitely get a picture with Mickey when you're there. There's one last thing I want to say before I say goodbye, and that is, of course, that there are also other dining experiences and other places to meet characters that are not Mickey Mouse around all the parks, around the resorts, and just kind of keep an eye out. Like if you really, really want to see a particular character, don't feel like there's only one option. There might only be one option, but you might actually get to find a couple options. And so if you open yourself up to the character dining experiences, then you often will find other places to meet those characters. So for example, you can meet Tiana at the Royal Banquet Hall at Magic Kingdom, where they have all the princesses, but you can also meet Tiana at Park 1900 Park Fair. Sorry about that. At Grand Floridian. And at that restaurant, she's actually wearing her like work outfit, the one that she wears at the beginning of Tiana's Bayou Adventure at Magic Kingdom. I think the reason why they put her in that outfit, not only to cross promote for the ride, but they were going to do a whole animated series on Tiana and her work, and they canceled it. Anyway, but that's a really cool place to go and meet her, for example. The same with Cinderella. You can meet her at Cinderella's royal table, but you can also meet her at that very same restaurant. So just keep an eye open and I guess like your heart and mind open to character dining, because I really do think that's a really cool way to interact with the characters when you're solo. It seems kind of antithetical, I think, maybe for some people, and I totally get that. But it really isn't. Actually, I'll end with one quick story that's not about solo travel. So my mother and I went to Disney in February 2020, right before the pandemic, and I was coming from a conference. I was going to be in Florida. I was like, "You want to come with?" And she's like, "Sure." And then while we were in Florida, we tagged on a Disney trip, and like, we lived in Florida when I was growing up a little bit, so we had definitely been to Disney, but, my mom was like going to Disney because she's like, I know that you want to go and you haven't been able to go for a decade or whatever, so fine, we'll go. And she didn't, the first night we went to the Snow White character dining at Wilderness Lodge, and she wasn't into it. She still like had her kind of like critical, cynical eyes on, like head on or whatever. And Snow White came around at that dining experience and she was like, "And would you like a picture?" And my mother was like, "No." And, oh my God, poor Snow White. She's like, "Okay." She like walked away, and I mean, obviously she was a consummate professional, but I was like, "Oh, Mom, that's not actually how people interact at Disney." And so fast forward, we were doing a trip, I think it was for my birthday. We like would rent a cabin at Fort Wilderness, which was really great. And so it would be like a semi-solo trip. And we went back to that same restaurant. And I can't remember, something happened, but like Dopey like snuck up behind her and scared her, and she just thought it was like the funniest thing ever. She was like, "Of course I want pictures." Like, and she gave him a hug and she was like laughing, and when he came back, she was like interacting with him, and it was like her heart had opened to Disney Magic by that point. I mean, we had done a couple trips together since that first February trip, but it's it was a real like indication of, yeah, you can go with your cynical adult like defenses up really and be like, oh no, character dining, or you can be like, oh my gosh, like I just got to meet Dopey or Snow White, or in the case of this particular episode, Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse and Daisy and Donald and Chip and Dale and Goofy and Pluto. And it's just a real pleasure. I have such fond memories of doing character dining with Mickey and friends solo, and it's just one of my like favorite things now. And again, I love Hollywood and Vine because they change their outfits. And so, you can find your own spot that you really like to meet and greet them all the time. So, anyway, I hope this was useful. Let me know where you like to meet the characters the best, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye. Hey Solos, it's Samantha. I hope you like this episode and all the episodes of Disney Solo Magic, the #1 podcast for solo travel to Disney World. This 2026, consider supporting the podcast by becoming a Patreon member. Your Patreon membership helps offset the cost of running the podcast, but also creates a little fund for me to try new things when I'm at Disney Solo and tell you all about them when I get back. Patreon members get a reflection after every episode, and that is like a mini episode in and of itself where I give you some behind the scenes stuff that I don't want on the public feed. Thank you again for listening. Please make sure you also follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Threads. Please make sure you subscribe, like, review, share on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on YouTube. Thanks again, and we'll talk to you soon.